Welcome back to Fresh Ice Hockey Podcast presented by Xenopucks. Brian Matusi here with Andy Matusi. We have a good show for you guys today. A couple things we want to talk about, so we're going to just get right into it. Andrew, how are you doing?
Not bad, man. It's been an interesting, we'll say, last 48 hours around the hockey community. So I'm pretty excited for the show.
Yes. I want to open the show and mention the Ohio State women's hockey team won the NCAA tournament. So congratulations to them. They with their victory over Wisconsin. Real tight game the entire game, and game winner was scored with about 7 minutes left in the third. So real tight checking game, good goalie battle, but ultimately Ohio State was victorious. So congrats to them. And I want to mention now and bring up the NCAA men's bracket for the hockey tournament. So round one, which starts, I believe it starts Friday, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, the 29th. So, there are games starting tomorrow. So the games that we'll play tomorrow, we have Denver versus Massachusetts, Maine versus Cornell, Boston University versus RIT, Minnesota versus Omaha. And then on Friday, we have Boston College versus Michigan Tech, Wisconsin versus Quinnipiac, Michigan State versus Western Michigan, and North Dakota versus Michigan. So the state of Michigan pretty well represented in this tournament, as is the city of Boston. So realistically, there's a couple really good teams in this bracket. I know Boston College is probably the favorite here. But just based on the limited amount of college hockey I've watched this year, I'm going with the final of Denver versus Michigan State. Michigan State recently winners of the Big Ten tournament. Ultimately, as you can tell by the jersey I'm wearing, I'm rooting for Minnesota, of course, but Michigan State's got a good club, and so does Denver. And I don't know, I just felt like picking the 1 seed was too easy.
I agree with you. I think Michigan State is a good call for this, though. I mean, as much as I don't want to admit it, and as much of a Michigan State fan as I am not, that's honestly my pick to come out of this thing on top. So I think Michigan State's a good call.
Yeah, they have a good program over there, and yeah, I'm just honestly when the bracket came out, I couldn't believe it. I mean, what's there 4 Michigan schools? 1, 2, 3,
Oh, yeah.
4. Yeah, so I mean, the odds are favorable that somebody from Michigan will win, but
Absolutely.
as long as it's not North Dakota, I'll be happy.
I'm with you on that. And as far as all the Michigan teams in there, I think, like you said, if you live in the state of Michigan, you got a pretty good chance to have some form of bragging rights coming out of this tournament. So Michigan well represented for sure.
Yep. So just wanted to touch on that. I'll be interested to see where these games go, and we'll really kind of dive more into it probably when we get down to the Frozen Four. So I just wanted to at least mention it since the bracket is finally out. I wanted to have a chance to talk about that. But now, before we really get into the meat and potatoes of this show, we just want to give a quick mention to our sponsors. Andrew, you want to talk about Xenopucks?
I always want to talk about Xenopucks. What are you talking about?
Let's hear it.
All right. You know it, as always. Fresh Ice is brought to you by our friends over at Xenopucks. Xenopucks make a top-tier, high-quality off-ice practice puck. It's good for gliding on almost any off-ice surface, whether it's tile, carpet, hardwood floors, concrete, asphalt. Almost any surface you can think of, this puck works on it. Couldn't tell you what it's made out of to this day. Still don't know. It's a well-kept secret.
It's a trade secret.
It is. And you know what? I don't need to know. But it's same size, same weight as a regulation hockey puck. It's 6 ounces. It's just not made of rubber. I also don't recommend, I can't tell you not to, but I don't recommend you use this for a game, as this thing hurts. It does fly off the pipe, so, use with caution. But head on over to xenopucks.com right now. Get yourself a puck and check out their merch selection as well, because they got some pretty good stuff over there as well. So Xenopucks for the win.
Awesome. All right, so we recently at the start of this week had two players in the NHL join the 50 Goal Club. Sam Reinhart of the Florida Panthers and Zach Hyman of the Edmonton Oilers. They joined Austin Matthews as the only players this season with more than 50 or more goals. Obviously, Matthews is a league of his own in the goal scoring department. I just had bad feedback from my mic. As I was saying, Matthews kind of in a league of his own with the scoring, but again, worth mentioning that these guys are right behind him.
Oh yeah. I think especially I do want to get we're going to get more into Zach Hyman in a second, but I just want to credit Sam Reinhart, a guy who's had nothing but success since coming to Florida. I think it's such a great fit for him. He's so fun to watch this year, and I'm anxious to see. There's not a lot of time left, but I truly think if he stays the way he is, he can hit 60 goals before the season ends. So I would really like to see that.
He's going to have to score at a goal a game pace to do it, but it's not unreasonable. He is a very talented player, and he's definitely got a good supporting cast around him.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean that whole Panthers squad. Don't if you don't count what they did against Boston last night. That great team, great energy. I think everybody on that team is a perfect fit right now. So I wouldn't change anything. And again, Sam Reinhart having a career year there, and I hope it continues from here on out because I think he's fixing to get paid this offseason. So
He is, and I'm hoping it's with the Panthers, but with what they got coming up, it may not be. So I'm hoping he stays there because obviously, again, really has found his stride. Never really worked out in Buffalo, but that whole previous regime in Buffalo was kind of a train wreck, and most of the guys that were with that group, it just didn't pan out. I mean, Reinhart and Eichel are the two prime examples. They both go elsewhere and find immediate success. So, you kind of don't want to hold that against the Sabres too much, but especially given the current group they have, they've developed so much young talent now that I don't want to hold that against them. But again, it is good to see guys who projected to be really good players go elsewhere and then perform at that level.
absolutely. And so I mean, it's going to be tough, but I mean, if you're a real hockey fan, you know that these kind of things happen. You're not going to see your number one guy stick around all the time. And he's not, I shouldn't say number one guy because I mean, this is his career year. This has been, I don't want to say this is his ceiling because it's not, but when you have guys who are having breakout seasons like that, you can't expect that other teams aren't going to go after them. It's just the nature of the game. It is what it is. So it would suck to see him leave, but if he does, I'm going to wish him well wherever he goes.
Yeah, I think and we talk about all the time with the taxes in Florida, and there's no state income tax, so there's good reason to believe that Reinhardt could stay in Florida at a reduced cost because he doesn't have to worry about taxes. But again, I think now wherever he goes, I do believe he'll find success.
Well, and there's two things I have to add to that. Number one, money talks, so always keep that in mind. But number two, he has said on several occasions this year that he wants to stay in Florida. He loves Florida. So I think there's a strong beacon of hope, but anything can happen in the offseason. And if you start seeing dollar signs, you never know.
We'll have to wait and see. We're going to move on from Sam Reinhart, but yes, again, congratulations to him, a guy that has earned every goal he's scored, man. He has busted his ass to get to where he's at in his career. So congrats
Absolutely.
to him. And now I want to move on and talk about Zach Hyman, who another guy that really, I mean, fifth round draft pick, and we've heard all the superlatives or whatever you want to call it over the past couple of days with him. But fifth round draft pick kind of was a throw in a trade with Toronto or between Toronto and Florida many years ago. I think Greg McKegg was the guy that went the other way in that trade to Florida. Didn't really think anything of it. Then Zach developed really well in the AHL with the Toronto Marlies, had a couple of really good seasons with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and now here he is in Edmonton on a line with the best player on the planet, and he scored 50 goals in probably the most unconventional way you can score 50 goals.
Big time. You and I talked about it earlier. You know, these guys that are 50 goal scorers, they're all snipers. I mean, nobody wants to park their ass in front of the net for the majority of the game. So, I mean, he's absolutely grinded for these goals and he deserves every single one of them and every bit of credit for it because he has absolutely busted his ass. And I will say, I do absolutely think it helps that he's played on lines with Austin, or he's played with Austin Matthews. He's played on with Connor McDavid. I think you still take those guys away. He's still a great hockey player. He's put in so much work and he's having a good career because of it. And I don't want anybody to try and discredit him. So,
Well, you don't have to. And again, yes, he's played with superstars, but these superstars are so good. You have to be good enough to keep up with them. Look at Chris Kunitz, all those years he played on Crosby's wing. Are you fucking kidding me? Chris Kunitz by himself. I actually think he was a Stanley Cup champion before he went to Pittsburgh. But are you kidding me? He elevated his game with Crosby, and so much so that it landed him a spot on the Olympic teams on Team Canada because everybody knew he could play with Crosby, and you needed a guy that could play with Crosby and keep up with him and who knew his game. So, yeah, maybe Hyman's not the best talent in the world, but you know what? He's good enough to keep up with the best players on the planet, so he's got to be doing something right.
Well, and that's exactly it. You can say whatever you want about the guy. He's playing with Connor McDavid, who is without a question the best player in the world, not just in the league, in the world. And that's
probably the best player of all time.
Yeah,
I'll put my stake in the ground here. Connor McDavid's the best hockey player of all time.
And I'll back you up 100% on that. I'm willing to die on that hill with you because, I don't even need to put any input in on this. Anybody who doesn't think Connor McDavid is the best player of all time is out of their minds. And I'm not discrediting guys like Wayne Gretzky or anything like that, but that's a completely different era of hockey. So it's hard to make those comparisons.
Fair enough. Now, goodness, what'd you do?
That is a really good question. I don't know what just happened.
Well, Jesus Christ. Well, that's going to murder anybody's ears that's listening with headphones. So
we're going to have to murdered my wrist. Whatever.
Yeah. Right. Would you drop a dog food bowl on yourself?
No, it was a nameplate up here in the office that was on top of the desk. I don't know how that fell because it was nowhere near the edge. So we might have a ghost in here. So it's been nice knowing you guys.
I would say now I'm going to have to make a mark here to edit.
Okay.
Just so we can save everybody's ears. Christ, that was loud. I don't remember what we were talking about. I think we just end the show here.
Yeah. All right. Good night, everybody.
Jesus Christ, that scared the shit out of me. All right. So we talked about this earlier on the phone when we were kind of discussing preview for the show. After Zach Hyman scored his 50th goal, almost the entirety of the hockey community was praising him, congratulating him. You know, guy busted his ass to get 50 goals. He did it in just the wildest way you can do it. I mean, who the fuck wants to stand in front of the net for 95% of their goals? It's unreal. Everybody except one guy. If you saw on Twitter, if you're on Twitter, Andrew Berkshire posted this really uncomforting, uneducated, just worthless video on Twitter or X now, basically saying that Zach Hyman, we shouldn't be praising him, and that, you know, he's in this position because he comes from a extremely wealthy family and he paid his way to the top and this and that it's not about his hard work, and that it's just the stupidest fucking video I've seen in my entire life. And Berkshire, a guy who got fired from his jobs because he can't even do those right in media, really has no place in hockey media at all, but he's just trying to keep a name up for himself. It's just a terrible video. I do recommend watching it because it is interesting to see how far he goes off the rails, but basically gives almost no credit to Hyman for the work he's put in, and that his dad bought him into the league and all this. And my counterpoint is this: not only is that extremely stupid to say, but the other issue is that it doesn't matter how much money you have. To play in the best league of any sport, you need to be talented. And we just talked about how Zach Hyman produced with not just one superstar, but two of the best players in the league, McDavid and Matthews. It takes skill to do that. And again, he scored all these goals in front of the net. He's standing in front of that, taking an ass kicking. He's getting roughed up by defenders. He's getting knocked from behind by the goalies. He's busting his ass and earning every goal he gets. When we talk about all the high scoring players in this league and in the history of this league, you look at guys like Solani, Gretzky, Lemieux, Crosby, Ovechkin, Stamkos, all these guys that were prolific goal scorers, Matthews now and McDavid. All these guys are known for their lethal shot. They're all snipers. They can all let the puck fly. That's not Hyman's game. How many 50 goal scorers have scored 50 goals by doing what Zach Hyman does? I can guarantee it's probably fucking none of them, because this guy has an unmatched work ethic and clearly unmatched stamina, because I don't know how he can stand in front of the net and get his ass kicked around game after game and not have 1,000 bruises, but to say that he has not busted his ass for this, even if he has come from money, so do 90% of hockey players. The sport is so expensive to get into. I think it's completely garbage to take any accomplishments, away from any players because of, oh, they come from money or this or that. Yeah, most of these guys do because the sport is so goddamn expensive. I think it's a terrible garbage opinion that Andrew Berkshire has, and he should be ashamed of himself. And after seeing that video, I was never a fan of his anyways because he's a Montreal guy, and I was never a follower of his anyways. But after seeing this, I can see why he doesn't have a job in hockey media now, because he's got garbage room temperature IQ takes like that have no place in this sport when we should be celebrating this game's best players.
I could not agree with you more, man. I don't think I've ever agreed with you on anything on this show as much as I do with this. And I think it's worth noting that, first of all, if you haven't seen the video and you want to, I will post it on our social media. I have the video.
I think people should see it.
Yeah, absolutely. It is an absolute dog shit take, and it's aggravating to watch this guy who does less work in hockey these days than you and I do, and that's saying something right now.
Yeah.
I mean,
dude, it got me so mad I can't even fucking speak. Like it's so bad.
I agree with you. It's terrible. And back to your point about the money, one of his main takes in the video was, well, his parents were absolutely loaded and they purchased an entire hockey league and multiple teams so he could have the best opportunity possible. I don't give a shit how much money you have, how many leagues or teams you buy to help your kid. If your kid sucks at hockey, he's not going to develop. It's just that simple. Money doesn't mean to an extent it does, but generally speaking, when it comes to talent, money's not going to help you. And for Andrew Berkshire to sit there and say that Zach Hyman's gotten to where he is because his father has money and has connections around the league is bullshit, because even if that's true, the man still has to have the talent. And another point he tried to make was that he's only successful because he's only played with Austin Matthews and Connor McDavid. That does not matter, okay? Because if he's not good at hockey, he's not going to keep up with two of the best players in the game right now.
Exactly. If any reason, that's more of a reason to celebrate it. This guy can keep up with the best players on the planet, and he was a 5th round draft pick. That's exactly right.
And for Andrew Berkshire to have the audacity to come out and post some absolute stupid bullshit like that on his TikTok and then share it to Twitter is just ridiculous. And I should point out that he's recording this in a park off some garbage handheld mic that I don't even it didn't even look like a mic.
I don't know what it was. It was a mess.
This guy, all he is jealous, and he's being a whiny little piece of shit about this. There is no reason for anybody to be knocking Zach Hyman right now. The guy has put forth the effort. He took the time to develop his skills. He's keeping up with Connor fucking McDavid right now. That alone, take the 50 goals away. He plays well with Connor McDavid. That alone should tell you everything you need to know about it. So if you're Andrew Berkshire, the only thing I have to say to you is do the entire hockey community a favor. Shut the hell up. Crawl back under your rock and stay there, because you have no place in this business.
Exactly. The guy scores 50 goals and your first instinct is to go online and piss him out about the money that his family has. What the fuck is wrong with you? It has nothing to do with that. It's and I said this when we talked about the Russia stuff a couple weeks ago. Hockey is a fucking game. To go after a man and his family because you don't like his upbringing is fucking garbage. And after seeing that, it's no wonder this guy doesn't have a fucking job. He probably recorded that video outside because you don't have a house.
Yeah, this guy should
it's
never
just it's so
again.
Infuriating, and there's more layers of this too. And if you want to hear a really good rant about this morning on Morning Cup of Hockey from Daily Faceoff, Colby Cohen absolutely unloaded on this guy,
dragged him.
Yeah, and Colby Cohen's opinion is a lot more important than ours, given that he was a professional hockey player. But there's some other things he talks about that I don't want to get into because we don't politicize things on this show, but it's definitely worth listening to. It's from, again, it was Daily Faceoff's Morning Cup of Hockey. It was right at the start of the show. They talked about it this morning. It was an incredible piece. I was like, holy crap. So go ahead.
I was going to say, you guys think Brian and I are getting animated about this.
Oh my God. Colby Cohen, I could feel his blood pressure rising.
Well, and he was absolutely right with everything he said. And kind of the same pretty much the same page you and I are on. It doesn't matter that he came from money because most of the kids nowadays do because one, the sport is
It's
expensive.
so expensive.
But aside from that, a lot of, I don't want to say a lot, but a good amount of players these days are their parents play, like their fathers played in the National Hockey League. So it's going to happen. So pretty much every point he tried to make, and I use the term point very loosely in this video, is, I don't even have a word for it right
It's
now.
asinine. It's so stupid.
Yeah.
It's again. I'm forgetting how to form sentences, and I'm tripping over every other
Yes.
word because I'm so frustrated. I'm like, what the fuck was this guy doing?
Yeah, I've been waiting all day to vent about this because it's just that stupid. And I'm telling you, if you're not already following us on social media, go follow us on Facebook, go follow us on Instagram at Fresh Ice Hockey Podcast. I will have that video posted on there before this evening is over. Watch it, and you're going to wish that you could get those 3.5 minutes of your life back. It's terrible.
Yeah, it's just a mess. Real quick, you mentioned players with fathers that played in the NHL. Shane Doan's son, Josh Doan, made his NHL debut last night for the Coyotes and scored 2 goals. So quick shout out to him. Congratulations on a very good debut. And it was wonderful to see the camera pan to the crowd and dad and mom and everybody are losing their shit. It was really cool to see. And for a team like the Coyotes where not much has gone right ever, this was a really nice moment for the franchise.
I agree. It was really cool to see Shane Doan getting pumped up. So
yeah, I don't think I think his jaw is still stuck open.
Yeah.
They showed him on the broadcast smiling and his chin was almost on the floor.
Yeah. Hey man,
So,
you know what? Good for that whole family, man.
Yep.
I mean, it sucked having to watch Columbus lose, but I mean, let's face it, we've been doing that all season. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say most of those games have resulted in that. So I just wanted to give him a quick shout out, but I do want to circle back to this. And I don't want this shit with Andrew Berkshire to take away from Zach Hyman's moment because again, he scored 50 goals in the least likely way to do it. I mean, nobody scores 50, let alone 40 or 30, taking an ass kicking in front of the net like that. So really congratulations, Zach Hyman, on scoring the most physically demanding 50 goals anybody's ever seen in one season.
Absolutely. And to Zach Hyman, anybody who's a real hockey fan with real hockey knowledge and a real career in hockey for that matter knows that he earned every single goal that he has. He's worked for it. He's earned every bit of it, and he has earned any good thing that happens to him going forward. So congratulations to Zach Hyman, and a big fat screw you to Andrew Berkshire.
All right, ditto. I'm ditto on that. I do want to kind of corral this. We really came unhinged there. Yeah, holy shit.
Woosah.
Yeah, man, it is what it is, man. We're gonna circle back, and I want to talk about Nathan MacKinnon and the MVP race and the Art Ross Trophy race. So Nathan MacKinnon scored last night for Colorado at home, which we have heard in every single Colorado home game this year. All 35 home games, he's got at least a point in. I know Colorado ultimately lost that one to Montreal, which I think actually ended a 9-game winning streak for them. So kind of ironic for them to lose to Montreal, but is what it is. MacKinnon put up another point. I believe he had a goal. And he is up to 45 goals on the year, 78 assists, good for 123 points. That is also good for a tie for first place in the NHL goal score or NHL point scoring race this year. We talk about Matthews, we talk about McDavid, we talk about Kucherov, all these great talents in the league. Sometimes I feel like we don't talk about Nathan MacKinnon enough. Honestly, if we're at a point now with MacKinnon where if it wasn't for Connor McDavid, I think this would probably be the best player in the league by a country mile.
I can't even counter that because that's another thing. Is there's just so much incredible talent in this league right now. Even if you were to completely remove Connor McDavid out of it, there's just so much competition because there's so much good young talent for that matter on top of it. But I don't disagree with you. I think Nathan MacKinnon is top 3 in the league right now. No questions asked. And a point per game in every home game, that's some MVP quality shit right there.
I forgot, I'd have to look it up. I just saw a chart that has his numbers for the home games. He's like almost 2 points a game at home. It's something unreal. He's got over 70 points at home, I'm pretty sure. So just an unreal season from him in general. But really, when you watch his play, it's so similar to what McDavid does. He attacks you with speed. He's got brilliant hands, and he's got a really good shot, and he can just kill you all over the ice. It's exactly what McDavid does, except McKinnon's a right-handed shooter instead of a lefty. But I think we're to the point here when you look at Nathan MacKinnon, you look at his stats, you look at where the Avalanche are in the standings. I know Kucherov and McDavid have had really good years, but I really don't see a better candidate for MVP than Nathan MacKinnon.
I don't disagree with you at all. If I'm being 100% honest, if any one of those three walks away with it, I don't think
they all have earned it. Yeah, absolutely.
So I mean Kucherov, man, he's just unreal this year. You can say the same thing about McDavid, but he's unreal every year.
I was going to say McDavid just keeps raising the bar every year.
Absolutely. But I mean, Kucherov's having a career year too. He's just absolutely unreal. He's one of those lethal players that you fear playing, and he's part of the reason that Tampa's so dangerous and why people should not be sleeping on them.
Yeah, they're very quietly sneaking up the standings, man. They're really starting to catch fire. So buckle up if they turn it on for the playoffs.
That's the right time of the year to do it.
But yeah, with MacKinnon, again, right now he's the second longest home point scoring streak in NHL history. Only Wayne Gretzky's 40 is beating it. So if MacKinnon can get a point in each of his remaining 6 home games, he'll break the record. So I'm definitely rooting for him, and I love to see this game star succeed. So I'm hoping for the best for him. If he's not gonna get the streak, hopefully he loses it against the Wild, just so I can have some solace in this. But again, he's such an excellent player. I don't see a scenario where he's not MVP, but I would still get it if McDavid or Kucherov walks away with it. So congrats to Nathan MacKinnon on just a killer season so far, and I'm really hoping it results in another deep run for that Avalanche team, because that team and that fan base went through some absolute hell between 2015 and 2021, really.
Yeah. And I mean, you especially being a Minnesota Wild fan, but both of us are not Colorado Avalanche fans.
No, I've always loved watching Colorado, though. Even though they're one of my team's biggest rivals, they're so fun to watch. My wife and I have been to that building. It's a beautiful arena. It's my favorite arena I've ever been to. It's a great place to see a game. It's a really passionate fan base, so it is exciting for me when they do well.
Well, and for us not being fans, we sure do talk about them a lot on this show.
Yeah, you got to talk about the teams that are good. That's why I don't talk about this team or this one.
Yeah.
Well, we talk about Columbus, but it's for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah. Well, I'm 2 for 3 on teams behind me, so
yeah,
we'll hopefully someday I'll be 3 for 3, but I don't foresee that happening anytime in the near future.
Yeah. It'll always work out where when 2 of them are good, one of them stinks.
Yep, that's fine. That's why I have 3 teams. Fake ass fan.
Yeah, I was gonna say just cheer for all 32 NHL teams.
Yeah, you'll never be disappointed.
So we talked about MacKinnon's greatness, and we mentioned McDavid. I was just looking at NHL stats. So Connor McDavid right now leads the league in assists with 93. He's on pace to have the first 100 assist season in 30 years or something like that. He has 93 assists, and that is more assists. If you took away all of his goals, he would still be 8th in the league in points.
Just proving my point.
Yeah, not a huge goal year for him, only 26 after he put up 65 goals last year. But again, when he's playing with Hyman and Draisaitl, I mean, they're just filling in the net. They're built so well up front that it doesn't require him to do all the scoring. He can set up a lot of those goals.
Yeah. Like I said, this just further proves our point about McDavid, though. And one thing I want to ask real quick before I get to my point, has it really been 30 years since somebody's had 100 assists? That just doesn't seem right.
Yeah, I'll look it up right now. I swear I forgot where I was reading it, but yeah, it's been quite a while.
That's just wild to me, given the amount of talent that's been in the league the last 20 years.
It is, but I know the 100-point plateau has been crossed a lot of times. But again,
Well, yeah.
to get a ton of goals or a ton of assists, I mean, that's kind of asking a lot.
No, it is, but I mean, when you're
Let's
Connor
see. Yes,
McDavid,
so I was wrong. It has not been 30 years. It's been 33 years. The last time an NHL player registered more than 100 assists in a season was Wayne Gretzky in 1991. He led the league with 122 assists.
well, I knew if it was more than 30 years that it was going to be Wayne
It was going to
Gretzky.
be
So
Gretzky, yeah.
not really a stat we needed to
Gretzky
read
is
off.
responsible, according to TSN in this article, Gretzky is personally responsible for 11 of the 13 times a player has had 100 or more assists in a season. The only other occasions were Bobby Orr in 1970-71, where he had 102, and Mario Lemieux in 1988-89 when he had 114. So there you go. And only 4 players have gotten more than 95 assists in a season since 1990. So yeah, very rarefied territory. And with McDavid, like I said, it seems like he just keeps raising the bar every year. He goes out and has a 64 goal season last season. And yeah, it comes out this season. He's just trying everything he can to get to 30 goals, but he's going to make up for it by having over 100 assists. So,
oh, yeah.
It doesn't matter how Connor McDavid beats you. He's going to find a way, even if he's not the one putting the puck in the net. He's contributing. There's no two ways about it.
And that's what I was just about to say, is that regardless of how talented he is, the guy's a team player, 100% across the board. He doesn't care who's scoring the goals. As long as the puck's going in the net, it doesn't matter how it gets there, and that's all he cares about. And I think he's the perfect captain for that team. And I hope we don't see a Gretzky repeat. The Oilers better never get rid of him.
Yeah, that's why they always say no trade's impossible, because Gretzky was traded. I don't know. We've talked about it with the Oilers too. Like they need to figure something out with this group, because you can't have this elite all-time talent and not do shit with it. I know they've made the conference finals a couple times, but they got to push that needle further and make it into the Stanley Cup final. I mean, we have to see what this kid can do on the biggest stage.
Well, and I don't want to sound like Brian Hayes here from 2 months ago, but just bear with me on this, though. I'm not saying right now, but let's say 5 years from now, let's say Edmonton is, well, where Columbus is right now. Maybe then I can see, okay, get him out of town, because the guy should be competing for
I'll tell you what, if it doesn't work out there, he ain't going to be there 5 more years. If they don't win in the next year or two, he's gone.
Yeah, which is fine, because that is somebody who should be chasing a cup right now, because, hope you're listening, Brian Hayes, he doesn't currently have one, and that is someone whose name needs to be on the Stanley Cup.
Yep. Counterpoint to that, nobody's name needs to be on the cup unless they've won it, so you need to earn it.
And he will earn it.
Think of how many years Ovi got dunked on for, he can score all these goals, but he can't win the cup and they can't beat the Penguins, blah, blah, blah.
But it's a team effort.
It is a team effort, but because of the way sports fans are, you have to have both. You have to have all the personal accolades and the championships, and you can't have a losing record in the finals, LeBron. So I had to get that jab in there.
Dude, I'm so glad you did.
Night. But yeah, no, because of the way sports fans are, for the masses to say, okay, this guy's one of the best of all time, you have to have the championships and the stats. People with common sense are going to say, you look at a guy like Jarome Iginla, one of the best players of all time, doesn't have a Stanley Cup, made the finals with Calgary, but didn't win. Still one of the best players of all time. One of the rare situations where people are like, all right, he's still one of the greats, but you see articles about him, or used to, and obviously not as much anymore since he doesn't play, but it's always, but he doesn't have a cup. So for McDavid, yeah, he has to do it, and I think it would only feel right if he does it in Edmonton, where it just feels like it needs to happen in Edmonton. Seeing him lift the cup with another team just wouldn't be right. At least not his first one, but I hope he has multiple someday. But you got to go earn it, and that's why, like I said on Sunday's show, I was so disappointed the Oilers didn't do more at the deadline.
Yeah, and I was right there with you too. And I think, aside from McDavid too, the Oilers are truly, and this is just me, I'm sure everybody feels different, especially if you are a Canadian. the Oilers are the only Canadian team I want to see lift the cup anytime soon. But
You
and
want
if that
Toronto
happens,
or Montreal or Ottawa?
bro, I'd rather stop watching hockey.
I don't know about that. I think a Leafs Stanley Cup win would be fun, only because you go look at all the Facebook comments on Sportsnet and TSN, and everyone's like, "Oh, the Leafs suck. Oh, the Leafs could use this guy. Oh, the Leafs could use that guy." I don't give a shit about Toronto, but I would just love all those boomer energy comments to go away for once.
Hey, man, we've said it before, though. If they get defense or goaltending figured out before the playoffs, watch out, man.
I say
Just watch
it's all
out.
about who gets hot, man. Look at Nashville.
Yep. And we could go into a whole thing on that we're not going to
I
right
say I
now.
think we're going to talk about Nashville on Sunday and I know we've mentioned it, but they just keep going. So I think we'll spend some time with them on Sunday.
Absolutely.
Before we go, a couple things we want to mention. We're going to get to, we have a listener question that we do want to answer. I also want to take this opportunity to mention our show's newest sponsor again. We mentioned them on Sunday, the Hockey Wraparound. So their premier product they sell, they offer drying racks for your equipment. They sell hockey tape, but their premier product they sell is a hockey stick blade wraparound, and it goes around the blade of your stick. So when you're practicing off the ice, you don't damage or break your stick blade. So for example, if you bought yourself a Xena puck and want to practice in the driveway with it, you can go get yourself a hockey wraparound and you can play in the driveway or in the street or wherever without damaging your stick, or that way you can use an actual puck and get simulate that on ice practice without having to get ice time is expensive and hard to get as ice time can be. I think it's great that we've partnered with these two products that go so well together. So go to xenapucks.com, get yourself a Xena puck, and then visit the hockeywraparound.com or hockeywraparound.com/fresh ice and use the code fresh ice pod and you get yourself 15% off your order. You can go get some of their wonderful products or get some of their merchandise. And I think it's a perfect match.
It's a perfect match. Hockey wraparounds and Xenopucks go together like beer and hockey.
Pretty much. But it is really ironic that we are partnered with both of these just because they do go so well together.
Well, they do. If you follow them on social media, which all of you should, they do a lot of promos for each other because those things go so well together. So just two really good companies, two really great products. If you haven't already, check them out, please.
Absolutely. All right. So looks like we have just one listener question for this week. Andy, you want to read that?
Yes, this question is coming to us from Ron in Wisconsin. The question is, do you actually think that Ovi will break Wayne Gretzky's all-time goals record before he retires, or is this it?
That's a really good question, and it's the timing of it is the best part, because if you would have asked me this question 3 months ago, I would have been like, I don't know, man. That's a tough sell, but boy, has he turned it on since I forgot what the date was. I want to say it's the last month or month and a half. He's scoring at a 60 goal pace, which obviously he's not going to get to 60 goals because of how late in the season it is. But for him to be scoring at that Ovechkin like pace that we're so used to, at the end of a season where it looked like he kind of was starting to slow down, is really good. I hope he keeps it going. And to answer your question, Ron, I'm going to say he does break it now. By the time this season ends, he'll be likely around 40 goals away from breaking it. And if he can just put it this way, he's never had a season, I think, with less than 30 goals other than the shortened seasons. If he can just have two subpar average seasons to follow this one, he'll break the record. So ultimately, yes, I think he will break it.
And to add to that, as Brian said, he could be within 40 goals by the end of this season. So if he brings back Ovi of the last couple years, there is a very real possibility that he could break it next season.
I was just gonna say, I completely didn't even think of that until you started going.
Yeah, he could very, very well do it next season. If he has 40 goal season next year, that's not unlike Ovechkin at all. The good thing is he's still got a few years to do it if he needs it. He's 38. So Jágr is still playing and he's like 104. So there you go. I'm not granted Jágr's not in the NHL, but I say ultimately yes, because he's got a few years left where he can do it, and I don't see him taking that hard that it'll be an issue.
Correct. Yeah, I think that and again, that's a great point. The idea of him doing it next season didn't even cross my mind because of how goofy this season's been for him. But yeah, if he goes out and have a typical Ovi season next season, he'll break it next year. But again, he's got 2 more seasons on his current contract. If he doesn't even get in the next 2 seasons, you gotta imagine he signs for 1 more year and they'll just feed him pucks until he gets it.
I mean, that's pretty much what's going to happen from here on out, regardless. I mean, yeah, right now the Caps are in a playoff spot, but by no means am I picking the Caps to come out of the East at all. And I don't think that'll happen the next couple of seasons as well. I mean,
No, but
anything
boy,
can
are they
happen.
turning it on, and Charlie
Yeah.
Lindgren's been playing some great goalie for them lately, man.
That's what I'm saying. Anything can happen, but as it sits right now, I think that's unlikely. But ultimately, back to the question, yes, Ron, I 110% believe that he will break the record. No question, no doubt in my mind.
I dig it. So again, thanks for that question, Ron. You can submit your questions by emailing us contact@freshicehockeypodcast.com. That's contact@freshicehockeypodcast.com. If you want, you can even go straight to the website, freshicehockeypodcast.com. And I believe Andrew's got a link at the bottom on the website that you can send us a message right from there. If you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment with your question. We'll obviously go through any of those that we get. We'll be glad to answer those. Just want to shout out again our sponsors, Xenopucks, Lightings, and Hockey Wraparound. Andrew, you have anything to say before we go?
Yeah, just real quick, if you are watching on YouTube and you haven't done so already, make sure you like these videos and make sure you subscribe to our channel because
Yes.
it's going to be kind of hard for us to grow it if we're not getting subscribers. So make sure you hit that like button and you hit the subscribe button.
Yes.
Make sure you follow us on social media and make sure if you're just listening to the show, whatever audio platform you're listening to us on, make sure you follow us on there. And if you like what you hear, give us a review. And if you don't like what you hear, don't tell anyone. Thanks.
Yes, if you are on YouTube, please like the videos. Please comment on them. Get just anything. It doesn't have to be commented questions. Just give us your thoughts on what we talked about on the show. Your input is valuable to us, and we want to hear what your thoughts are on the things we talk about.
Well, absolutely. I mean, that's part of the main reason we do this show is to interact with other people across the hockey community too. So don't be shy. We're open to any questions you have, any input, whether it be good or bad. We want to hear from you. So go ahead and send us.
Tell us how we can be better because we stink. No.
Yeah.
So yeah, please. And any comments, thoughts on the show, questions you have for us, leave those in the YouTube comments and like the video. It'll go a long way in helping us out.
All right. Well, I'm going to let you close out the show and I will follow right behind you and say something that I didn't have the opportunity to say last week. So go ahead.
Yeah, he tried to tell us to comb our hair last week. And when we went to edit it, for whatever reason, the audio cropped off him saying that, which, I thought would have been an inside job, but he handles all the stopping and starting of the recording. So it's his own damn fault.
Yeah, I suck.
That's all right. Well, it's okay. You're gonna get a chance to redeem yourself. So, yeah, that's it for this week, guys. Thanks for listening to Fresh Ice Hockey Podcast. We'll see you on Sunday.
Take care. Comb your hair.